St. Thomas Raceway Park 2013 drivers meeting and information meeting as well. There's several people we want to thank. There's a lot of topics we want to talk about. Some people are pressed for time. They have other lives, believe it or not, outside of racing. We want to thank Judy Burgess. Judy, of course, has been around St. Thomas Raceway Park since day one, when her daddy built the track and her parents ran the track, and she and her husband ran the track for many years, and we want to thank Judy. She once again this year has provided our drinks, soft drinks, here at the track, but Judy has to go to work today. But I'd like to invite Judy to come up to the stage if she would like to say a few words. Judy.
Hi. I have seen lots of familiar faces. That is super great. Super. Over the years, from 62 on. And I see new faces. And there are not many nicer people around than drag racers and their pit crew and their family and their friends. They're super. There are not any bad people who go to a drag strip in my mind. So thank you for supporting the track at the 50th anniversary. I said, please support drag racing, preferably at St. Thomas, but anywhere, because I don't think they'll let us have property and give us the permits to build any more drag strips the way municipal governments go. So if you can, please support St. Thomas and the other tracks. That's super. I want to thank Jay and Michelle and Tracy and Metzler and all of the gentlemen, I don't want to say their names because then I will forget one, for keeping the track going. It's super, it's phenomenal. We all love it, and thanks for supporting it as a racer or a spectator, and I hope you have a great day. Thanks to everybody for being here.
Thank you, Judy. Before we get into the meat and potatoes of our drivers meeting today, one more thing I wanted to mention. Many of you probably know Glenn Gray. He's raced at St. Thomas and the other tracks throughout the years. And unfortunately, recently his race car was stolen. Probably some of you have heard about it, but some may not have heard about it. So what we want to do is show you a picture of the car today. 69 Barracuda, wasn't it? Yeah, 69 Barracuda. You've seen it in the pit area before at St. Thomas. It's gray primer in color. And this car was locked up inside his enclosed trailer at a site in London that was fenced in, right, as well, at the Ontario Truck Driving School. It was at that site, and somebody still cut the locks, broke in, stole the trailer. And Glenn was able to get the trailer back a few days later, but the car is still missing. So some of you may recognize the car. Again, gray primer Barracuda. If you know anything at all about this, or you happen to run across this car anywhere, this is the car that Glenn has had for what, 40 years? 40 years. You fall in love with your race car, don't you, racers? Glenn's car is gone. He had it for 40 years. So if anybody hears of anybody trying to sell Barracuda parts, you might want to perk up your ears a little bit, or even a motor, anything like that, get in touch with Glenn, get in touch with Jay or myself, and we can just investigate it. We're not going to point fingers at anybody, but, you know, the car's out there somewhere, and we just like to be able to help Glenn recover it if we can. Okay? If you've got any individual questions about this car, or when it disappeared or anything, you can talk to Glenn. Okay? Thanks, Glenn. Yeah, we can pass this around if that's okay with Glenn, just so people can get a first-hand look at the car and what it looked like. It was on TV. They did it on the news one day on Saturday in the 6 and 11 o'clock news, but you know, they got a video of the thing being stolen. Beautiful St. Thomas Raceway Park 2013 booklet for the drivers meeting. If you didn't get one, there may be some more at the back of the room, or maybe you can share with your neighbor. But we're going to go through that book in some detail to cover some points. There's a lot of new things that are happening for 2013. Jay's going to tell us about basically a review of 2012 since he and Michelle took over the track last year as to what they were able to accomplish and what took place as far as improvements. Do you want to come up and do that now? We'll review 2012. Jay Morris.
Go ahead and break it, Jay.
Hey guys, welcome. This turnout's amazing. You guys rock. And our last event, the Turkey Nationals last year, was amazing, fun. Last year we got accomplished a lot of stuff. Started, we ripped burn boxes out in the spring. Charlie Chase put some burn boxes in for us, and they were double the size in each lane. We had tons of renovations done to the bathrooms. We had Frank the plumber, he came in, put in new toilets and sinks and made that pretty. We had Linex put in the floor. Our tower renovations from Michelle's family. Static, Bob from ONDR, he made the floor shine. He's come back this year. We got a new timing system, a new used one, and new track wiring, and we got that all installed thanks to R&L Racing for the wiring. And we also are ready to put the scoreboards up first thing in the spring to update those. In the last race, we had a little fire in one of the digits, so it's good timing. Get rid of that old stuff, but from the top to the bottom, it's going to be new timing. We got some dial boards, indicator boards for the burn box we got for this year. And we also did tons of repairs to the grandstands, although we still have lots more to put together. Wally for painting, he kicked butt. He was there all year. Also, we also had, let's see, new snack bar improvements too as well. This year we already got some new deep fryers, so we get some hotter French fries. Big plans for our...
Don't change the burgers.
No, you like them? So yeah, and all the staff and the people made it happen last year, the track, and the kids that come down to the track. People are just keep it coming. We got our podium up there. That's going to be taken to the track to show off for 2012 winners. And can't wait to see the new Messenger Freight Series winners up there next year. Looking forward to that. And our quick Sinister 16 we got going on. And I'm going to pass it back to Larry, the man. Wait, I got something for Larry I want to do before I forget. Larry's done so much help in all aspects of St. Thomas, and he's earned it.
Thank you. This was a surprise, of course, because I've never received a microphone before. Used them a lot over the years, but that's my little statue, my trophy, and I'll put that up in my mantle at home too. Thank you, Jay. Thanks, Michelle, for that. Okay, let's get into the what's new for 2013. As Jay alluded to, we would like to welcome aboard as our bracket series sponsor for this year, Messenger Freight Systems. They are located in St. Thomas and in Cambridge. You've probably seen the trucks out on the highway anywhere between probably Windsor and Toronto, maybe even further. I don't know how far they go, Tim, but anyway, Messenger Freight Systems has stepped up to become the major sponsor of our bracket series, partnering with the track now. So Special thanks to Louise and Tim. Messenger Freight will also be coming on board as our major sponsor for what is new to you folks. We used to call it Quick 8 or Quick 16. This year it will be known as Sinister 16. Sinister 16 will be a Quick 16 program for door cars and dragsters. And we'll get more into that a little bit later on, but it will be qualified field, handicap start, top sportsman, top dragster style, okay? This year, we're looking forward to the first ever NHRA Provincial Championship race at St. Thomas. It has been held at Cayuga last year. Is Andrew here now? Andrew Sturck's on his way, but he's not here yet. Andrew can tell us a little bit more about that, but Andrew hosted the race last year. And the NHRA Provincial Championship race, when you think about it, or maybe you don't know this about it, it is something that will attract a lot of coverage from the media. It should attract a lot of racers from both sides of the border. It's one step up from winning a Wally, one step up from the National Dragster Challenge, because just like if they have provincial championships in London for hockey or curling or wrestling recently, this is the drag racing provincial championship for NHRA, period. And it's right here at home this year. So we will be working that real hard through the media to try to get television coverage, local news coverage. If anybody's got any ideas or connections or anything, we're not looking necessarily for sponsorship, but we're looking for ways to get more coverage for drag racing. And this will be a provincial championship race recognized by NHRA. You would be the Canadian champion if you win this race. So that's a biggie. That one's coming up in September. We will also be hosting the National Dragster Challenge. A Summit Racing Series is potentially on the schedule as well. We'll talk about that more in a few minutes. Years ago, some of the drivers, some of the racers here would remember when we sent a team of cars down to the bracket finals at Indy. I think anybody that went probably had a good time, win or lose. It was still a good trip, and we had a lot of fun as a team. NHRA Summit Racing Series still offers that opportunity. We'll talk about that a little bit more and get some feedback from your racers as to whether there's any interest there or not in sending a team down to Indy in September as well. The track and facility improvements will continue. Jay alluded to some of those a few minutes ago. We want to do some more improved lighting in the pit area along the return road of the racetrack. So at some point in the season we'll have some new poles with lighting going up down by the ET booth and back into the pit area. They're already there, but they're not up yet. So scoreboard upgrades, as Jay mentioned, some grandstand repairs to continue on what was being done last year. We are looking at, just to answer the question in general for everybody, we are looking at replacing the guardrails, but I'm not saying it's going to happen soon. That is a huge, huge expensive operation to do that. Some people say, why don't you have the concrete walls now like the other tracks do? Well, you know what? NHRA and the insurance company is not saying that we have to change it. The Armco barriers that are there now are sufficient. The posts have been replaced that hold the guardrail. There will be more going in, Jay says, as far as supporting that. So there's a company named McLean Taylor out of St. Mary's that does about 80 or 90% of the concrete barriers that you see in the 400 series highways whenever there's road construction out there. We've been in contact with them through some other people that are close to our hearts that are trying to swing a deal where we could buy some of those concrete barriers and have them installed. It's not just that simple, because each one has to be transported to the racetrack by a certain vehicle. It has to be a vehicle that can handle 16 of those huge slabs at a time. So you've got to have something to handle the weight. It has to be a wooden deck truck. It can't be a steel deck or they would slide. And you have to have a crane at the racetrack once you have them there to be able to set them in place and line them up. So it's a big deal, it's a big venture. Not saying it's going to happen this year or anytime, maybe not even next year, but we are looking into that. The idea of the concrete barriers, of course, is that they they don't move around, they don't bend if somebody hits them or whatever. So, you know, in the general consensus, they seem to be a safer way to go. But the Armco barriers that are there now are being reinforced even more, and they are NHRA legal, and they're approved by the insurance company. This year, we have some huge events coming in that we're very proud of. R&L Racing. Henry and Chuck with us here today will be putting on one of our biggest payout bracket races of the season, with over $12,000 in cash and prizes, plus King of the Track and National Dragster Challenge. They get a chance to win a Wally. DSC Racing Series is hosting its first ever DSC points event at St. Thomas. If you're not familiar with DSC, Andrew Sturck, who heads that series, is supposed to be here today. He's probably on his way. He comes all the way down from Caledon, so it's a long drive. But the DSC series is the primary points program at Cayuga Dragway, Toronto Motorsports Park. Andrew has made a deal with that facility to run the bracket program there. He did it last year quite successfully. He contacted us about doing a race at St. Thomas this year, and we're going to have him in for one event. We'll see how that goes. There may be future events. It all depends. So that event will be a non-points event in our series, but it will be a points event for his DSE series. Okay, just to clarify that. Chatham-Kent weekend will be a huge weekend again. If you've seen any of the flyers out, lots of racing action. They're going to have nostalgia funny cars, a couple of nostalgia funny cars at the track as well for that weekend. So that should be a good race. The PTRA, the Pro Tree Racing Association Survivor Series, will debut this year at St. Thomas. It was planned to start last fall, but unfortunately the weather did not permit that, and the world is still here, right, Glenn and Kelly? So the world is still here. The main calendar was wrong. So the Pro Tree Racing Association has 6 dates at St. Thomas Raceway Park for this year, and basically it's a Pro Tree handicap style racing. Now if you raced with us last year, you remember I did one race last year where we tried the Pro Tree race just to see how everybody liked it. It was kind of mixed reviews. Some liked it, some didn't. Well, these guys are taking it a step further. They're doing it as a series, and they've got the rules made up. Glenn gave me the newest rules just before the meeting here. If you have any questions about it, you can certainly talk to either Glenn or Kelly. They're both sitting down here. Just raise your hands, guys, so they know where you are. These are the gentlemen from, there's Kelly Cooper, there's Glenn Tovey from Pro Tree Racing Association. Now they qualify the cars. They got 2 classes, Open Comp and Pro Comp. They qualify their cars based on reaction time, as opposed to ETs or whatever. They ladder the cars from round number 1. Okay, so just so you've got an idea, it is a handicap Pro Tree as well. Delay boxes are not allowed in competition. But after having some conversations with Glenn and Kelly, they now understand that the cars that have delay boxes, that rely on those delay boxes for their trans brake, or their air shifter, whatever, you can't just simply take the delay box out of the car to run like a foot brake. So they will allow you to run, if you've got a trans brake in your car, just tape over the box. You don't use it that day, right? Am I right, Kelly, on that? Yeah. Zero it out, tape it over, and you can run in this. So it's a Pro Tree start. All 3 embers flash at once and you go. So interesting racing. 6 events on the schedule for this year. Only 5? Okay.
Can we get 6?
No. I'm sorry. I thought there was 6. I thought I counted 6.
We got to race too sometimes.
We're also welcome to, or pleased to welcome back the Can-Am Stock and Super Stock Series. You've probably seen those cars in the past. They put on a great show, the wheel-standing Super Stock cars, and also the TNT Series, which is the 1090 heads-up Pro Tree class, headed by Ted Barnes. And F.J. Smith, of course, will be heading up the Can-Am Stock and Super Stock Series. They will be back at the track for a couple of events And the TNT series, I think on August 3rd and 4th are at the track, but they are actually going to have their championship competition on August 3rd in the evening at the track. The Canadian Ford Challenge, the Truck Weekend, the ONDR, Ontario Nostalgia Drag Race, Rick Proctor, oh, Rick's still in Florida, I believe, not here. We'd like to welcome them all back. They do a great job. They put on great shows. ONDR, Ford Challenge, and the Truck Weekend. The Truck Weekend was huge last year. We expect it to be even bigger and better this year. And Sonic Cycle, who sponsored the Bike Weekend, and Wiseco Performance Products, and London Major Appliances. And hopefully we'll have some new announcements on that in the future very shortly about their involvement with the track as far as sponsors, and about our upcoming Hot Rod reunion will be announced as well. The Western Ontario Mopar Owners Association Mopar Day will be back again. Dave Wheeler. Fortunately, I bumped into Dave at the gas pumps yesterday and invited him, and he's here today. He can answer any questions about the Mopar Day and Canada's only Hemi shootout. So we're going to have the Hemi cars back, part of the Mopar Day again this year. So those are some of the highlights for 2013, some of the things that are coming up. I'm sure there's many more, maybe some we didn't put in there. But again, if you picked one of these up, inside the front cover, Messenger Freight Systems and R&L Racing. Thanks to both those organizations for stepping up and being on board to help us out. Now, if I can, I'm going to flip over from page number 2, what's new for 2013, and go over to page number 5. So if you've got a booklet, flip over to page 5, 2013 entry fees. The class is listed on the left-hand side of the page there. It says Top ET and Mod ET. I don't know where we got that. It should be Super Pro and Pro, because those are the IHRA names for them, of course, but basically you know what they are. Super Pro and Pro, the box and no box classes, that's the entry fees. As you can see, we will be running a trophy class again. We call it Street Trophy. We'll have Junior Dragster class again this year, or classes, and more involvement and sponsorship to announce there as well. Our Test and Tune and our Street Legal Friday nights run what you brung Saturday. All the prices are listed there. And the Sinister 16, that's 6 races, Bob. 6 races in the Sinister 16 program. That's what I was thinking. And again, we want to welcome Messenger on board for that. So Sinister 16, we'll have more about the rules and regs on that, but looking forward to that. The crew and spectator fees there, if you are a crew member or a spectator at any of the events, all listed on that page. And then, over on the right side of that page, our Bracket Series Points Program. Guaranteed payouts for 2013. I had several, well, not several, maybe 3 or 4 racers approach me last year that said, we'd like to come and race in St. Thomas, but we never know at the end of the day what the purse is going to be. Well, a lot of racetracks are like that. They don't like to commit, but this year we've worked it out so that we will do guaranteed payouts so that you as a racer know when you're coming to the racetrack that you're racing for this minimum payout. Based on the number of cars, of course, you can see the payouts there starting at 10 to 16. And these payouts are for Super Pro and for Pro. So for the box and no box classes. You can see how they increase from 10 cars going right up to 65 and 75 cars, where it would pay $1,100 to win and go right down to the 8 finalists. If anybody has any questions on that specifically, we'll talk about that later. But if you work out the math on that, the track does not make a lot of money on bracket racing. That's not to say we don't want you there. We love to have you there at the track, but we don't make a lot of money off of the bracket racing because we're trying to be fair with the racers and pay as much back to them, to the winners, as we can. The bike and sled payouts below, and the junior dragster payouts. And this year we'd like to welcome on board to our junior dragster program, Western Overhead Door. Todd is here somewhere. Todd, where are you? Oh, right in front. Okay. Todd from Western Overhead Door has generously stepped up to help us sponsor the the funds for the Junior Dragster program for 2013. So thank you to Todd. We'll be doing some advertising for him at the track in the future as well. Now let's move into the buyback program, the bracket race. If you join the bracket race points series, if you're a points member, okay, then we're going to tabulate points for you just like we have in the past. This year there's one change, one major change in the bracket buyback, and that's down in the bottom left-hand corner of page number 5. You'll see the buyback entry fees are $20, same as they were last year for Super Pro and Pro. Bike and sled is $20. Trophy class and Junior Dragster, $10 to buy back. It's first round buybacks only, just like it has been in the past. Right next to that, 2013 Bracket Series Points System. This is how your points will be allotted for this year. You will earn 5 points when you buy a tech card. You come in, you pay at the gate, you buy your tech card. Let's say it's $65 to race. If you're in Super Pro or Pro, you get 5 points automatically. Doesn't mean you have to come to the starting line for round number 1 for those 5 points. What I've seen in the past is if somebody breaks unloading their car out of the trailer, they can't race, usually they come and they get their tech card back. You wouldn't get your 5 points if you got your tech card back. But if you paid for your tech card, okay, and you are going to hang on to it, use it for another day, then you got your 5 points for paying to come in that day. Everybody understand that? Round wins are allotted, 10 points per round win. We're not worrying about win or lose, 2 points, 1 point, whether you win or lose the round. You win a round, you get 10 points. If you lose in round number 1 and buy back, you begin earning points in round number 2 if you win. So it's 10 points per round win. That goes to buyback cars as well as winners. So when you think about it, the guy that wins from round number 1 will have 10 points. He will have the edge, a 10-point lead over anybody else that has to buy back. We don't want to discourage racers from buying back. There's several racers here that if they lose in round number 1, they feel the weekend is done. If they're in the points program, they can buy back and begin earning points in round number 2 if they win. It makes it much closer and fair at the end of the year. If a guy joined the points and came out on our first 3 points days and lost in round number 1, he's not just 30 points behind, he's like 180 points behind. Because the guys that win each round theoretically could get 60 points per day, right, Bill? And then by 3 events, you know, somebody's got a 180 point lead possibly over somebody, and they say, oh, well, I don't have a chance this year. But if you're earning points for your buyback rounds, you've still got a chance. Okay? And then the class winner, whoever wins Super Pro gets 5 points, whoever wins Pro gets 5 points, whoever wins Bike and Sled, that's a 5-point bonus that goes to the winner at the end of the day.
Last year we only had 2 bikes in the Bike Sled contest. Why don't you just jam them into the mod class?
That's
only going to have 2 bikes.
That's something we will do, Rodney, if that takes place. We got to give them a fair opportunity to show to us that they're going to come out and support the Bike and Sled class. Who knows, this year we may get 10 or 12 or 14, and then we would have a bike class, and that would be the payout. If in fact we...
But if that person joins Pro, then he should not be allowed to race in Bike Sled. That's the way I see it. Or else I should be able to because he's in a car. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, we're not going to have cars in the bike class, but...
Then he's stuck in Pro. If he wants to join Bike Sled, then put him in Bike Sled. But don't let him cross over every other weekend.
It won't happen every other weekend. They have a certain amount of time before they decide what class they're going to go into. Okay, so if we start out the season in hopes that we have a Bike and Sled class, and we only find out like we only have 2 or 3 bikes, once we're through our first event or whatever, those bikes will be given the opportunity to run in either Pro or Super Pro, and their points will carry over. But that's only into event number 2. If we haven't got the bike support there by our first points event, it's not going to happen. And then they can run with, okay, according to...
The bike guys are probably going to ask that question.
Yeah, you're right, Bill. They probably will. We're hoping to get the bikes out. I mean, there's sled series running out there. There's lots of bikes out there, but we just don't seem to get a lot. They'll come out on Friday night test and tune, but a lot of them don't come back and race on Saturday or Sunday. But the payout is there, the class is there, and we hope that we get more this year. So we're encouraging those racers to try to come out. The class down the bottom right-hand corner, page number 6, the classes of Super Pro and Pro, as I mentioned, Street, which is Trophy, Bike and Sled, and Junior Dragster. The designations there below are for Junior Dragster, of course. The 8 to 9-year-old Junior Dragsters, this doesn't apply to most of us, but I got to cover it because if you've got a youngster coming into a Junior Dragster class, they're only allowed to run 1290 or slower until they move up in the next age group of 10 to 12 years of age. Then they can go as quick as 890. NHRA does require licensing for Junior Dragsters. If we've got any Junior Dragster parents or racers here today, we do want to remind you that you've got to be licensed to run 790 or slower. And you've got to be in that 13 to 17 age group, okay? So we've got to enforce those rules for Junior Dragsters. One thing that was pointed out to me last year at a different track, a different NHRA track, is that the Junior Dragsters that were running at that facility, none of them had the required flags that stand up in the back of the Junior Dragsters. Some of you maybe have heard the story about a Junior Dragster getting run over down in the US by a car on the return road with a hood scoop. Can't see the Junior Dragster. So when we run our Junior Dragsters, we make sure that the Junior Dragsters are not just back on the return road, but they're past the ET booth and headed into the pits before we start running the full-size cars. That's an insurance requirement. All I'm saying is, if the Junior Dragster parents started putting the required flags on the back of the cars, right, Mr. Walker? Right. Then it's much easier for a driver with a scoop on the front of him on his hood to see that flag up in the air and know that there's a Junior Dragster there. So we want to see that start to happen this year.
They only put it on when they get to pick them up and bring them back, right?
That's correct. You take the flag off when they come out of the staging lanes, you put it in your tow vehicle. The Junior Dragster makes a run down the track. Once it gets back, turned off the track, and you meet them down there to tow them back, you put the flag back in for the trip back up the return road and into the pit area.
That's why we got Eric in the front tow vehicle.
Yep. Yeah, some parents choose to do that. You can have your Junior Dragster in front of the tow vehicle or behind, but I'd still like to see the flags this year. It is in the rule book. Nobody's done it in the past. I mentioned there's other tracks. JR?
The Junior Dragster, as soon as you finish the run, must be shut off, not driven back to the time booth into your pits. It must be towed back.
Yep, good point.
Flag must be put on at that spot and towed.
Good point. So we'll be watching for that. I mean, we don't want to disqualify anybody, but we're certainly going to start pointing this out to the parents and the drivers that you need to do it this way. We haven't had a lot of Junior Dragsters, as you know, last season. We hope that the numbers will increase. But as they do increase, we are going to enforce the rules just like we do with the other classes. Okay, let's flip back one more page to the schedule. Page number 7 in your booklet, the 2013 events. Pretty self-explanatory, I think. Jay spent a lot of time putting this together. We've got our messenger freight systems points days highlighted in bold there. There are 10 points events on that schedule. You can see the various different clubs that we've mentioned in there. We've got the R&L and the Chatham Kent Day in there as well, Sonic Cycle and the Ford Day. So if you've got any questions about that, we'll answer them after. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about some of the events, the points events, in conjunction with our possibility of formulating a team for the Summit Super Series bracket finals. As I mentioned, we as an NHRA track continuously for 51 years can field a team of bracket racers. Up to 32 cars can go to Indy for the Summit Team Finals in September. But we don't even want to go there unless we've got enough interest. And I'm not asking for a commitment from any racer out there today. I'm just asking if there's people interested. So listen to me first, and then I'll ask for a show of hands to see if it's worthwhile. The Summit Team Finals doesn't come at no charge to NHRA, of course. They charge us, the track, $700 just to field a team. That's not your entry fees, that's just $700. Don't worry about that, we'll cover that. The track will cover that. We can do that in 50-50s, or Jay and Michelle will cover that. If we send a team of cars to Indianapolis in September for the bracket finals, we do have to pay $40 entry fee for each driver. Now they want a commitment by June the 1st as to how many cars are going. Let's say we had a commitment from 20 racers here today and only 18 show up at Indy, we'd still pay for 20 cars. Okay? So that's only fair. But I'm just telling you what NHRA is asking of us. So if there's enough interest there, we will look at tracking the points through the Summit Super Series point system and field the team. Because we only have Super Pro and Pro, possibly bike, then we can make up 32 cars. I'll tell you a little bit about the payouts. This was the 2012 payout that NHRA sent me for the bracket finals. Super Pro is an 8th mile race at Indy, pays $7,500 to win. They pay down to 3rd round losers. Bill Nolan's sitting there, all the fingers going in his head right now. Bill knows this stuff. So when you think about it, it's a $40 entry for the weekend and a chance to win $7,500. Now, of course, you're competing against all the other tracks from Division 3 NHRA. We don't know how many tracks are involved in the program this year, but we do know that there'll be a lot of cars there. Last time I went was probably back in the 80s, and there was 500 or 600 cars. I would expect nowadays it'd probably be in the 300 to 400 range. Pro.
In each class.
Is it that big in each class still? Okay. Pro ET 8th mile pays $6,000 to win. Again, they pay down to 3rd round losers. The only reason I'm giving you this is to kind of put it in perspective that it's an opportunity to race representing St. Thomas Raceway Park at the bracket finals. And if you do well, there's some decent money there. Okay? Even if you don't, I mean, it's a lot of fun to send a team down there. Now, they have a race of champions as well for our Super Pro and Pro Track champions. They have contingency awards, which I won't get into right now, but a lot of you are going to go over everything here because most of you are veteran or experienced racers and you know a lot of this stuff. But for any newcomers that are here, that are thinking about racing this season, these are some of the basics or things that you'll need. All of this information, again, is covered in the NHRA rulebook. That's your best bet. Buy an NHRA rulebook. You can get them at the track. We got some here. You can even get them here. But we do want to point out some things, even for the experienced and veteran racers who have been around for a while. Insurance regulations, just like with the junior dragsters. I'm reading down 1, 2, 3, 4 paragraphs on page number 3. All persons must be 16 years of age to operate golf carts, mini bikes, quads, scooters, any motorized vehicle on the property. The only exception, of course, is the junior dragster drivers when they're going from the staging lanes down the track. And as Mr. Walker said, you shut them, or John said, you shut them off once you get back on the return road. You don't drive them back. Okay, there's no insurance if somebody's driving a junior dragster back up the return road. It can be towed, but it cannot be driven. So, in the pit area, What this means to all of you racers out there, if you say, oh, well, I don't have anybody under 16 that's riding in my golf cart or driving my quad or whatever, but what it means to everybody else is that if there is a violation, and say somebody gets hurt or injured at the racetrack and it gets investigated by the insurance company, we have the risk of losing our insurance at the racetrack. They can pull our insurance if we're negligent. So as a group of racers, if you see something like that happening, if you see a youngster under 16 years of age driving a golf cart, even riding a pit bike, report it to somebody. Let Jay know. Let somebody know so that we can go out, Howard, or somebody, so we can go out and just find out who it is. We're not going to kick somebody out of the facility for doing that, but we're going to give them a warning, and we're going to tell the parent to, keep your kid off. Because not everybody knows this rule, but now all the racers do know it. So, so that's something that's, you can't play with. It's like your car insurance. It's like saying, are you going to go out and get drunk and risk a DUI and risk losing your license? We could lose our insurance this way. So we want to, keep an eye on that. I don't think it's been a major problem in the past, but we'll be watching it closely in the future. Over on page number 4, consumption of alcohol and drugs by driver and or crew while a car is in competition. Driver can be disqualified, period. If crew member's drunk, driver can be disqualified. We had one case last year, right, Howard? Took care of it.
What about the staff?
Hopefully it doesn't happen again.
Stop it.
Okay, I'll skip down to, well, we said that, no minors on motorized vehicles, no minors in restricted areas. The restricted areas really are from the back of the staging lanes to the end of the racetrack. So you can't have minors in that area. Can't have minors in the staging lanes, please. I mean, they're all asked to, the parents are asked to sign the waiver at the front gate and that, but if you've got a minor in the staging lanes, hopefully it's inside a tow vehicle, not out walking around, because again, keep in mind, cars are starting up all the time, they're being pulled out of the lanes, and if you've got a little kid running back and forth, then it's only inviting problems. The speed limit at the racetrack is 10 miles per hour, 15 kilometers per hour. That includes on the return road. Let's keep the speeds down. I'm going to get into starting line procedure a little bit, about 3/4 of the way down on page number 4. Again, it's all stuff we've heard before. I don't think anything's changed here. All vehicles, race vehicles, must self-start, self-stage, and stage under its own power with the engine running. Okay, so if vehicles have to stage under their own power. Deep staging is allowed. You usually put deep on the window. That hasn't changed. There's a lot of racers that maybe don't understand that there's another light on the Christmas tree that you don't normally look at, but it is there. We call it the white light. Right in the center of the Christmas tree, you've got your amber bulbs on the outside, of course, and your green and red. But right in the center of the Christmas tree, there's a white light, just a white bulb there. If you're pulling up to race somebody, and that white light is on, not on, that means the computer's not set for your run. So if somebody pulls in and tries to double bulb you, for example, if somebody pulls in and turns on the pre-stage and turns on the stage, and you're not even pre-staged yet, if that white light's on, he ain't going nowhere. So you do your normal thing. You take your time, you pre-stage and stage. The white bulb is an indicator from the tower, from Brandon to the starter, John, the starting line, that the run is set. That's whether it's a time trial run or whether it's a bracket race. The white bulb in the Christmas tree, so you racers can then know when the tree is set. So if it's a dial-in race, handicap race, your number should be up on the boards and that white bulb should be on. You don't have to stare at it, just glance at it. If it's on, it's on. You're good to go. Staging, pretty straightforward again. You break the beams. If you back up, you risk red lighting, of course. You can't back up and restage when the other car is staged unless the starter tells you to back up.
First big truck race.
Yeah, great truck race when they drive past the starting line a few times. Single runs, driver is considered the winner when they stage the race and the tree comes down. If that vehicle never leaves the starting line, then they still would get their 10 points if that is a point series bracket race. John?
All staging must be made in a forward motion.
Correct.
Do not stage and come back and feel your way in. The reason why an incident happened last year at drag strip down south, where the car was left in reverse. She come up on the converter at 7,000 RPM, left the button up, drove over the staging lane up. Killed him dead. With every bone in his body. Man never knew what hit him. So please, let's not let that happen.
I think we're all pretty good at that, but it's just a friendly reminder that your last staging motion is a forward motion. Stage, okay? That basically covers that. Now, I want to give you some opportunity, of course, to ask some questions about anything in particular. Again, we've got people here. I see Andrew Sturkey is here now from